I am here with Paul Bill. He is a member of the staff at Veterans Bridge Home, where I am interning, and this is for my video that we are producing, diving into what the Veterans Bridge Home does. So, Paul, if you want to introduce yourself and what you do first.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. My name is Paul Bill, and I have been with Veterans Bridge Home on and off for the last 12 years. True to nature for Veterans Bridge Home that they can call back military folks. This is my third tour with Veterans Bridge Home. I'm former Navy retired after 30 years. And today I find myself in the role of employment project manager, managing the employment um, the employment lane of Veterans Bridge Home.
Okay. Can you take us back to your transition out of the military? What did that moment really feel like for you?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. When I transitioned out of active duty, I stayed in the reserves. So many folks in the audience might know that in the reserves, you're still wearing the uniform once a month. So my transition wasn't fully, tossed the uniform out and now I'm a civilian. So I had my foot on both camps. So it allowed me to do a little bit of military. And I did that for 15 years as a reservist. So that transition, it helped a little bit. In the reserves, you make a little bit of money. You can take some assignments that'll help you if the civilian sector and jobs aren't working. But I think that the question really is about, transitioning into a civilian occupation. And I could just tell you now that, I'm more on the senior side of employment. I had probably 7 or 8 different employers in a course of like 8, 10 years. And all that to say, my transition, I still was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And it took some time. There was a lot I could do, but exactly what I wanted to do. And the military doesn't set you up really well unless you want to do exactly what you did. And what I did in the Navy was drove ships. And how does driving ships and those kind of attributes, help you place a job in like Wells Fargo or Ally Financial? So, transition was difficult in what I would call trying to find my true identity and purpose.
Interesting. So what does a typical day or week like look for you in this organization?
Yeah, well, my main job is that when veterans or spouses come in looking for a job, that once we kind of brush up their resume or LinkedIn, their interview skills, which I will do a little bit of that through the week. So some days I am on the phone, I'm on a virtual call with a veteran or spouse, and I'm walking them through the first few steps to help them in job transition. Could mean brushing up on their resume, taking a look at it. Could mean taking a look at their LinkedIn profile. But most of my time, once the veteran is polished, because we have partners that can help them do that, once the veteran or spouse is polished in that area, then they have to put their resume in front of an employer. So my typical day looks like developing relationships with employers, sometimes doing events, sometimes going to events, sometimes supporting events where employers are, and to make sure Veterans Bridge Home brand is out there. They know what we can do for them. And so it's really developing those relationships and making sure we're serving them, the employer, particularly sending veterans that are in transition that come to us and get them a job over in the employer side. But also, in addition to, and we're making a big push recently on this, and this takes up some part of my day, is really getting engaged with their veterans that work for them. And there's a big charter here at Veterans Bridge Home to get connected to what we call the unaffiliated veteran. That is a veteran who's not plugged into services, not plugged into the VA. And lots of times those are veterans that are working for these employers. They have health care and they're good. We say around here, they're good until they're not. So my typical day is developing relationships with employers, know what we do, and to continue to see where we can help them help their veterans that they have working for them and help them hire veterans that we have in our queue.
So, what would you say is the biggest thing that you use to sell the idea of getting connected to those veterans who aren't connected? Like, how do you pitch it to them?
Yeah, well, I will tell you that the first thing is, and I'm an experienced salesperson, and so I'm sensitive to pitch too early. So that means, Chris, if you were a veteran and I asked you about where you are in your season of life, you could be different than the other two veterans I meet later today. They might be in a different place in a different season. And so when you say pitch, it all depends where they are. Now, so for example, let's just say you're kind of newly out, you spent 8, 10, 15 years in, and you've never filed for disability. That could be an opportunity for you to go, that's what Veterans Bridge Home does. We can walk you through on your disability benefits. Well, let's say you've already done that, but you're kind of an older person and your parents are older and your dad served and he's kind of in a care facility and you want to know about his benefits. So I might pitch how we help your mom and dad or uncle or brother that's older, and it can help them navigate through, caregiving support, funeral expenses, burials, these things that you want to talk about, but benefits there. Ultimately, if I don't know exactly what season you're in and I don't have an opportunity to talk to you one on one and I'm talking to a big crowd, I basically try to share that we're a wraparound service, that if you need housing, employment, mental health, social connections, food, clothing, we help veterans in all their places that they might be in dire straits and need, and we can help you get connected to services. So that's kind of like the big picture, support or pitch, wraparound services. If I know a little bit better about the person, then I'll pitch the actual things that we can walk them through just to get them excited, get them to understand that we're there for them. And I usually leave a veteran with this. I wouldn't call it a pitch, but I leave them with this. Don't do it alone. Don't go alone. We know this about other things. We know we don't go fresh to a restaurant usually unless we look at, I don't know, what's that Yelp,
Yeah.
right? Or we ask a neighbor or we ask a friend. We ask some advice before we go into that restaurant. And, so I always leave the veteran or spouse, don't go it alone. And so ultimately, the pitch is Veteran Bridge Home wants to partner with you wherever you are in your transition lifeline.
Awesome. And then the next question is, can you share a story? Now, you don't have to go too specific in details if you don't want to. A story or a moment that sticks in your mind and illustrates the power of the Veterans Bridge Home collective impact model.
Yeah. Well, I could think about 6 months ago. So one of the doors we feel are open to veterans and spouses to walk in and to get coached to care, as we talk about, is our coffees and our lunches and our happy hours. So we're at a coffee at our headquarters that we have once a month. And this veteran walks in and he we go around and introduce ourselves. Well, okay, here's this veteran story that I think shows the power of VBH. Is he came in, and this is typical for a lot of veteran spouses, that they come in looking for a service. And there's usually one or two services right behind that. So if you're looking for a job, if you've been looking for a job for 8 months, you come to Veterans Bridge Home, you're probably financially strained. Your probably marriage is strained. It's probably affected some of your mental health. Depending on what you can and can't afford, you might need some subsistence there. So this gentleman continues to talk about how he came in and thought that's all he needed from VBH was a job. And he needed so much more. He needed mental health. He had a little PTSD. He He needed a little bit of guidance on housing. He needed a little guidance on his disability benefits. We got him help there, all along trying to find a job. So at this coffee, he shares that he's in a good place, his wife and 3 kids, and he works at Wells Fargo. What a beautiful story that he touched 4 or 5 different services, hence the collective impact of different organizations that try to help a veteran meet them where they are and touch different uh, what do they call it? Social determinants of health, which, in his case, we helped him in housing, disability benefits, employment, mental health. I think we might even helped him with food and or the welcome home kits that we have for new home buyers, because we helped him, guide him into a grant that we had last year that helped new home buyers get into a house. So great kind of story that, and the alarming thing is that the veteran felt like it was too good to be true. That was the sad part. And there are organizations like VBH that are out to help. And sometimes the veteran just scratch their head and going, I don't even know. I don't know how it happened. I mean, I got all this and I got it from VBH. So he wants to continue to come around and share his story and share it with other veterans. And we're happy for that. The more ambassadors we have out there like that have touched our resources, the better.
Awesome. And then last question here. You can take some time to think about this. If you had to describe what Veterans Bridge Home means in just one word, what would you say? And you can take a couple seconds just when you're ready to say it.
Yeah. Well, you provided me with a little insight yesterday, so
Yeah.
I did give it some thought. And I would ask you a question before I give you my word. I would say if you had 10 veterans in the room and they're all out, veterans, hence out of the active duty military, even out of active reservists, and you ask them one question: what do you miss the most? What do you miss the most about your military service? What do you think they would say?
I would say like camaraderie or companionship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the word. That's what you hear all the time. So if I had one word, because we have this tagline, be the bridge, well, what are we bridging? We're bridging one person to another person, one person to an organization to an organization. We are collaborating all the time, creating camaraderie. And so you could select some other fancier words than camaraderie, but I like it because there is not a doubt in my mind that at least the first 2 words out of a veteran's mouth, if you ask them what they miss, you're going to hear camaraderie. And how cool is that to come back home and have camaraderie through VBH?
Perfect. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add?
Uh, on my own accord, one of the things we might not have touched is like why I went in. So I'm the youngest of 7 children.
Really?
And yes, and by
Yeah.
the time upstate New York, Catholic family, by the time it was time for me to go to college, there wasn't a lot of money in the kitty. And so I had to figure out how I was going to do this. And I just had a desire to go to college. And so way back when, Army had an advertisement about, be all you can be and, get college through, their benefits. So I went to the Army first, but ultimately I ended up in the Navy. But ultimately, my purpose and my mission was to get a degree through the military and have them pay for it. And, I really didn't see it as a career. I didn't think I'd spend 30 years in. I thought I'd spend a few years in, I'd get a trade, and I'd get out. So, the youngest of 7, I figured I'd try to do it on my own. I got a little help from the military. And then each year I was in, it was just perfect fit for me in so many ways. And now I get to continue. I continue to mentor folks that want to join the service. 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds that are considering. And I have some really good mentoring that I've done where folks have, done some great stuff in the service. And if I can get them to go in the Navy, great. But if they want another service, I'm happy to support that too.
Awesome. All right, that has been an interview with Paul Bill as part of my series with the Veterans Bridge Home. So thank you so much. And then if you can just stay on the line for a second, I just gotta stop the recording.